Welcome to another episode of Queen's Vantage podcast. We're going to dive into a subject today that is deeply personal to me. I became a mother when I was just 20 years old. I was pregnant with my first child at 19. And today I want to share the platform with another mother who became a mother at 18 and our now adult children, Xavieria, who is 24, my son Kyrin, who is almost 22. Happy birthday, Kyrin. But just to talk about going from survival to legacy and telling the stories of young moms through our now adult children and their perspectives. So I just want to first welcome you all to Queen's Vantage podcast. Welcome, Xavieria. Welcome, Courtney. Hey, Kyrin.
Hi, Mama.
Kyrin's a second-time guest on Queen's Vantage. Yep. We did an episode together where we talked about transitions in life. So if you haven't watched that episode, go find us on Spotify and Apple. Listen to it. But let's jump in here and talk about Courtney. We're going to start with the moms to talk a bit about what that was like to become a young mom. So you became a mom at 18?
Yes, I was 18, 3 weeks shy of 19. But pregnant at 18 and delivered at 18. So yeah, it was, at the time, I didn't really think too much about it. It was just like, oh, I'm pregnant,
Yeah.
It's going to happen. But looking back, I have a whole different perspective on it.
Yeah.
So
was there other folks in your family that became moms at a young age?
Yeah, there were. I had practically all my family became, moms at young age, including my mom. But I think that's why, I had a lot of, trouble going back and forth with the family. They were disappointed, of course, right?
Yeah.
Because I was supposed to be like this one that went off to college and did everything right. And here I am falling into, their past footsteps. And so there was a lot of disappointment with the family.
Yeah.
I can say that.
Mine was a little different, only because I was pregnant at 19 and I had him at 20. But so my mom was actually excited. She had a very different expression when I called her. I thought she was going to be upset and cuss me out. And she was like, oh my gosh, you're pregnant. She was so happy. But she became a mother at 15 and my older sister became a mom, I believe, at around 15 as well. And so what mattered to her was that I graduated from high school. So I didn't have any children before, graduating from high school. So I was actually surprised because I was disappointed in myself.
Yeah.
I wanted to finish college and, have the fancy life, have a nice car. But I was pregnant and I was working at Macy's and I was in a dressing room calling my mom to tell her that I just found out I was pregnant.
Wow.
And to my surprise, she was actually very excited. I told her not to tell anyone. She told everybody, but
that's certainly not my experience at all.
Yeah.
So, I was, like I said, I was 18 years old when I found out I was pregnant. I lost my mom at 16 years old.
I'm sorry.
And so I didn't have my mom to call, but I can guarantee you if I did, I probably would have got cussed out. But, so, I didn't really have that experience. And I didn't really get to be the one to share the news.
Yeah.
The news was shared for me.
Yeah.
And so, it was kind of an uphill battle with that. But, I remember my grandmother calling me and she found out because my stepfather called her to tell her. And, she was really upset. Then she just told me, I can't believe this about, what you're doing or whatever. And I just told her, well, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she goes, oh, no, you know what you're going to do.
Ooh.
You're going to have that baby, you know? And so that decision, sorry, Zave, not like that, but it was kind of made for me, you know? It wasn't like I really, when you have elders coming down on you like that and you're so young, you don't really, you do what you're told in a way, right?
Yeah.
And so, you know, I was like, okay, you know, it's not to say I didn't want it, but I was very confused.
Yeah.
And so I didn't know how to feel about it.
Yeah.
I'm scared.
Of course. It's frightening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it brought up some emotions in me about, you know, not having my mom there.
Yeah.
And so it was a whirlwind of emotions. There was happiness in there as well because, you know, I was in love at the time. And so there was a lot of happiness there. You know, but again, you know, it was a lot of confusion and uncertainty, and I was, you know, afraid.
Yeah.
So.
I remember thinking it wasn't real.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
I'm 19 and I have no concept of what it means to actually be a mom, right? Or an adult for that matter. I wasn't like living on my own. And so I remember like thinking time would pass and maybe something would change. Like maybe this isn't real. Maybe they made a mistake.
And you get that feeling over and over again each stage, right? Like when you go and you see the ultrasound, or when they first kick, or when they do a flip, or when people start noticing.
Or when they say it's a boy or it's a girl. Exactly. Well, for me, I only know it's a boy. But
I know. And so it's just like at that time, it's just like every time it feels like, oh, it's not real. You get new information and you're like, oh yeah, no, this is happening. Like this is real, you know, get prepared. So
yeah. So I'll fast forward to when I gave birth to him. So I went in thinking I was going to have natural birth. And I ended up having a C-section because he was under stress. And they said that, like, you know, they had to take him out immediately. And
already causing trouble. No.
Yeah. I mean, let's just say that's gotten easier over time. But yes, from birth, this boy has caused some trouble. And I remember hearing him cry for the first time. And being like, oh my God, like that's my baby. And when they placed him on me, I was like, oh my God, that's my baby. And I'm gonna be honest, get him off. Get it off me.
No, same.
Would you guys both say that was the first moment that didn't feel surreal? Like that you're having a baby, like this is real, like the first time you ever held?
I would say, not for me. I was more like, this hurt, right? Because I did have a natural birth.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was in a lot of pain. Yeah. And I was very weak because I had pushed for so long. And so I was more exhausted and more just trying to get my wits about me. Like, can I see straight? Right. I really couldn't see straight, you know?
Yeah.
So it didn't really become like real to me until my grandmother again came in, and she was there right after she was born. And that's when it became real for me. And when she started nitpicking everything, like, why is this? What is this? What are you doing, to the nurses? Because my grandmother was a nurse as well. So she's nitpicking. So that's when it kind of became real. And then again, when I went home and I was by myself. Right. Yeah. I mean, you know, her dad and I were living together, but I was like, no grandmother, no friends. I'm in this room. Dad's going to work. I'm home alone.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when it became really like,
20 years old or 19? You were 19?
I was, probably by that time I was 19.
Yeah. Wow. I think for me, the entire pregnancy was an outer body experience. Mm-hmm. I was watching myself develop a child inside of me, and I didn't feel like I owned the experience because I didn't know what it was.
Right.
Like I honestly just didn't know what this meant for me. What made it real for me was your Uncle Packy came to visit at the hospital after I had given birth to you. So baby shower, all of that, out of body experience. It's almost like I was a visitor.
Yeah.
You know? But he had, so you were in, is it not the NICU, but
I know what you're talking about.
Like the nursery.
Yes, the nursery.
Where they have the babies. Because I was
they
like.
took them away at that time.
Yeah.
They would take them away back then.
Yes. And so he came to visit, and he was like, you know, I want to see my nephew, bring the baby in. So they brought the baby in, and, you know, he's holding you and he's just so excited. He's a proud uncle. And so he puts you back into the, you know, the little bed, and he's like, all right, sis, you know, I'll see you later. Mm-hmm. And I was like, take him back, right? Take him back. And he looked at me and he's like, what?
You
like,
get used to this.
Because I was so afraid. I was afraid to hold you. I was afraid to touch you. Like I didn't, again, I'm now coming into like the real of like, you're here, but it's still an outer body experience. Right. And I remember He took you back, and then the nurse brought you back into the room and said, "You've got to bond with your baby."
Yeah.
Like, and I what bond? Like,
Right.
you know, I grew up tough. Like, what's that?
Right.
And so she handed you to me, and I remember looking at you really looking at you for the first time and being like, I got you. Like, no matter what, like, I got you. And that's when I think that connection, like, those neurons were firing in my brain, like, you're a mom, and you've created this miracle. And, like,
It's a miracle, isn't
yes.
it?
And
I didn't realize it was a miracle
Blessing
until
in
my
disguise,
second pregnancy.
Yeah.
Again, no offense. Love you dearly.
It's real.
But,
Yeah.
like you said, I didn't know how to own the experience.
Yeah.
And going from the first pregnancy to the second one, being much older, I was like, wow, I'm paying attention so much more.
Yeah.
But the same thing happened. It's just like when I was that protectiveness, like when you said, I got you, right? Like you're being protective. I remember a moment like that where, we're young. We don't know we're 18 years old. We're in the hospital and then dad's having all his friends come in and handle the baby. I'm like, no, put my baby down.
Yeah.
Like, put her down. You
Yes.
know? No, don't touch her.
That's when that mama bear really
like you can't be. One thing I take away from my grandma is like, you don't bring no newborns around random people because you just they're still trying to like, their immune systems and everything. So that I did remember, and that protectiveness, it does come like automatically.
Yeah, like that. It's just something about it kicks in, and now you're like, I've got to protect this child. Like this is mine, and not in a like as a possession, but like I created this, and I will protect you at all costs. That nurturing. And I know for some women they say it doesn't kick in right away, but I do think that's something special about motherhood is that it does for a lot of women, right?
Yeah.
That it really did. It does. And like you just start to figure it out. You figure out how to breastfeed. You figure out how to change a diaper or what the different cries are.
Yeah, the different cries for sure.
Yeah.
It was definitely a learning experience. I had my grandma on speed dial.
Yeah. So now I want to kick it over to these amazing, beautiful souls that we've created, and ask you like what. Because you've had this young mom, right? And so what is like one of your first memories of your mom? And this could be, it doesn't matter what age, but what's the like first memory that you have of your mom?
I remember us going to, I think it's like called like Fairy Town Land or whatever in the East Bay.
Yeah.
Visiting there, and just honestly, the first memories I have of mom are just fun, relaxing. Like she always tried to, she was always working hard.
Yeah.
But I feel like she also made a point to have fun with me. And so that's what sticks out to me initially.
Yeah. Kyrin, how about you?
I would say I probably have to take it back to the daycare days. I remember we used to live pretty close to, I want to say it was Auntie Vicky, like walking distance maybe.
Yeah.
And I think you and Dad at the time only had one car, and you would normally be at work at the time, and then Dad would pick me up, and then we'd walk home. And I remember you just like snuck up on us, and then you were like, "What y'all two doing?" or something like that. and I was like, "Who is that?" And then Dad was like, "Oh, it's just your mom. She snuck up on us in the car," and I was like. You're always doing like playful things like that, but then I guess like in retrospect now I realize like you were working hard coming home to and from work and making things work. So I would say
Yeah. I just want to share a quick memory. We were living in San Pablo at the time, and you were going to Happy Brown Bear Daycare out in Richmond, and we were me and your dad were taking you to a Giants game, your first Giants game, and I brought you into my office, and I remember you saying, well, what's this place? It's so cool. It was out in the aircraft hangars. And I think you had it because Kyrie wasn't born yet, so you had to be about 3. And you were like, what is this place? And I said, this is my job. And you were like, you got a job? And I was like, yeah, well, where do you think I go every day? And you were like, shopping. And I'm like, what? And I was like, the cutest thing. And I was like, no.
Were you always coming home with some bags? Like, what?
Yeah.
I remember you picking me up from school too, and everyone always thinking that you were my sister.
Yeah. I love that.
That's your mom?
Yeah.
Even from a very young age, still.
Well,
we don't get. We don't get.
People think we're dating.
They think we're dating, so we get black love.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm like, it's my son.
Or a waiter thinks my mom's cute, and I'm just getting dirty looks the whole time. Sizing me up. This is my mom, man. Everything's all right.
No, it's like, it's so funny that you bring up, you remember like having fun, because one memory I have is, I don't remember what grade, it probably was like first grade or something. And, you know, every year the kids in elementary school, they bring home the Mother's Day gifts.
Yeah.
And they had this like, you know, prompting poem, basically like, what's your mom's favorite television show? Like, you know, these type of questions.
Yeah.
And there was a question on there that, you know, they were like, what type of parent or something is your mom? And she was like, the business parent. And I was like, what? And I remember thinking like, well, what type of parent is your dad? And she was like, the fun parent. And it hurt my feelings. But at the same time, I was like proud of being the business parent, because I'm like, I know I'm handling business. She sees that.
Yeah.
But also I was like, I want to be the fun parent. You know, I want to be the one that you have fun with. And so that hurt my feelings in a way that I was like, okay, maybe that's where the more fun came in. I made it a point to be more fun. I'm not sure. I can't really.
Or it could be something that she actually deeply admired about you, because being about business, like there's nothing wrong with that. But she started with the memory saying, like she remembered how fun you are, you know, in fairyland.
No,
but
that's why I'm glad to hear that, because I was like, oh, okay, I was a fun parent then, you know. So
one of my favorite was when I was going to elementary school in Sacramento, and I had gotten really good grades on my report card, and you brought me Jamba Juice. I remember that. She's like, I got a surprise for you. It was sitting on the front seat in the car.
That girl love her some Jamba Juice. So.
I know there's a business that's called, I think, like handle business and have fun, and I love that. I love like their tag, because I mean, it is like, I think I was probably about business, you know, and I mean, if you think about the title, and this is like from survival to legacy. And so starting in the beginning when we don't have our parents, right? Like I got married about 4 years after I had you. But, you know, I didn't have my parents, and we didn't have a place figured out. Like I was pregnant, working really, really hard and saving up like every penny and every dime I could to even have an apartment once I had him.
I got kicked out at 8 months pregnant from my home.
Really?
I was staying in a hotel. It wasn't a hotel. It was
as,
a motel.
as my little one would say, if the doors are on the outside, it's a motel.
Yeah. And the only reason I was 8 months pregnant, and like I said, there was a lot of disappointment from the family. And I was told like from the get-go, you know, from the elder, no, you're going to have the baby. And then from my stepfather, like, if you have this baby, you got to go. Yeah. So around 8 months, I had to go. And the only reason, you know, and when I got into the apartment, the lady took pity on us, because you don't have any credit at 18, right? So she saw me pregnant. And she was like, well, back then, right? So no credit history, no rental history, no nothing. And they literally denied us. But then she said, you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb for you guys, because I see that you're in need. Yeah. And that was just like, what I will say is like, you know, just God's blessing always upon me, because despite all the struggles that I experienced as a young mom, some way, somehow, it's not even some way, I know the way, right? It was just God's grace, just on me all the time. And that was a scary moment. You know, that might have been the moment where it became real, because I'm like, I'm going to be homeless, and, you know, homeless in a motel, this Roach Motel, right? Yeah. And so, that was a scary moment. And so when you speak about like survival, like that's where it started, because it was all fun and games up until then. You know, it's like, oh, I'm pregnant, you have the baby shower, you know, belly's getting big, you're watching them kick or whatever, and then bam. Reality hits.
Similar experience. Me and my mother, the tumultuousness was on her behalf. I think that she had trouble processing through a lot of her emotions. And so the one that really stood out was anger and rage. And we had a moment where she wanted me to loan her money, but she hadn't paid back some money that I had already given her. And I came home from work, and all of my things were sitting in the front yard.
And you were pregnant?
And I was pregnant with Kyrin. Oh, God. And it hurt. Like I remember pulling.
Because you're vulnerable. You're pregnant.
You're vulnerable. Like you're so open.
Yeah.
You're so open at that time. And I'll never forget, I pulled in front of the house. And like you said, I don't have credit, right? Like I was working at a mental health company and I was making good money for most people my age, but not enough money at the time to like just go and get an apartment and be able to live and thrive, which is why I was living with my mother. And I remember how hurt I was. And I pulled in front of the house and I'm looking and so this was after the baby shower because he's almost due at this time.
All the baby showers.
So it wasn't just my stuff. It was my baby's things.
Yeah.
And I think that's what like hurt me the most. And I remember calling my cousin and I said, I don't have anywhere to go. And I really want to thank from the bottom of my heart my cousin Kiki and her mom, who is no longer with us, but my auntie Faye, because they took us in for the remainder of my pregnancy. And that's where I came home to after I had him. And she always treated me like I was one of her own children. And she helped me out and helped me save money and didn't charge me to stay there because she was like, I want you to go out and be able to get your own place. Right. And I'm so thankful for that. And hopefully, I was able to tell my auntie Faye, I can't remember because like I said, so much of that time in my life was just a blur. I was having this outer body experience for most of it. But I just thank you up to heaven to my auntie Faye for allowing me to come stay with you all and give me and my son a safe space to reside in. But I remember just being thrown out and how it hurt, but it also strengthened me because I remember after I went to live with my cousin and my aunt, I remember saying like, I never want to have to live with someone again. And it did happen later on in life, but under very different circumstances, You want
to have control to the extent that you can over your circumstances.
Yeah. But I want to pivot back to
these youngins
to say, having a young mom, and maybe for you, it's just like I had a mom, the age didn't matter. But I think now as you look back, like Kyrin said, like kind of looking back in retrospect and you see some of the struggles that your mother has gone through, how does that impact the decisions that you make as an adult now?
Well, I would say number one, definitely practice safe sex.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
Do you want to drive that into the camera?
Yeah. Everyone listening at home. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. But then on a more serious note, I would say like an attitude towards life, not in a negative way, always in a positive, like I'm going to find a way to make it work. Because obviously our situations are a lot different. I don't have any kids, but life still can get tough for anybody out there. So I would say just, always putting your foot down and asking questions or asking for help. Like you're saying, you had a kid at a young age, you had to lean on someone. Like, don't be afraid to do that and take that next step and, just keep persevering, keep your head up, handle adversity, handle in business.
Yeah. Before we shift over, I wanted to say, so when you, and this wasn't your first girlfriend, but when you had told me that you and your girlfriend had become serious, I had a conversation with you both. Yeah. I don't know if you remember. And I was like, I can help you because there was the foresight that I had of becoming a young mom and saying, and I said to you, I said, you are the age that I was when I had you. Right. And I said, and you still rely on me. At the time I was still paying the rent, so helping you pay your rent. And I said, so if you decide to have a child, because it's not just on that young lady, it's also on you, then you're telling me that you don't need this kind of help anymore. Like you can take care of your basics.
Right.
And I said, so I can help you on this side or I can help you on the other side.
100%.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that your girlfriend was even thankful because she called me later and was like, thank you so much for even having that conversation. Right. Because I offered, like, I'm not a mom that tells my kids, don't do that. Yeah. I'm like, make good decisions, like do things in moderation, think about your future and how that's gonna our decisions now will affect us. But I know that we're all gonna do things. I'm a young mom, so I can't judge, right? Yeah. But I'm always like, how can I help you think about your future so that you make wise decisions now? Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and I don't know if you had anyone having that conversation with you at that age. That's like very beneficial too, just to have your parents say that to you, and not like you're saying, like, don't do this, don't do this, don't do that. Yeah. Just to have the conversation, so I can like, oh yeah, like, you're right, you were this age. Would I want to have a kid right now? Not really. So. Yeah.
And I don't want to condemn. I'm like, it's like we're like what you heard me saying earlier, like we're all on a human experience. So I just want you to make the best informed decision. Know that I got your back, but don't put an extra burden on yourself or on me.
Right.
Yeah. How about you? Yeah.
I want to echo what Kyrin said about perseverance. I feel like it really taught me that because, you know, there are things that are obviously can't turn a blind eye to. Even as a young child, there were struggles. But I think it also taught me to be responsible because and independence as well. Because, you know, I think it was obvious that if, you know, my mom or dad, or if they couldn't make ends meet, then that was it. So it taught me, that it instilled this sense of, okay, I'm gonna be responsible and have all my stuff together. I'm gonna be, you know, I'm not gonna necessarily rely on anyone, even though I know my mom's got me, to be independent and make sure that I'm successful. So I think that's what I got, I guess, out of having a young mom.
Yeah.
A sense of strength for sure.
Yeah. And just to add on to when you said, like, when, you know, if bills couldn't get met, you know, that was it. Can you think back to a time where you actually saw your mom struggling?
I remember,
but you also saw her push through.
Yeah. I remember when my mom's always, like I said, always been very responsible, always had it all together.
That's what you thought. I made it look that way.
Yeah, but I think when you lost your job during the when you got laid off, I had to be about maybe like 10 or 11, right?
No, you were about 13.
Oh, well, 13. And I know that was really rough, and I think at a certain point you had just decided, okay, we're gonna take this time and we're gonna live in it, and it was a rough time, but also at the same time it was nice because my mom was always busy, she's always working. She, you know, whether it was when you went to Sac State to go to school or working in San Francisco. So it was nice to have that time with my mom, even though it was a struggling moment. I really enjoyed and cherished that time, that free time that I got to have with you.
I did too. And so it's funny because like you said, I was always working. When her dad and I decided to split, you know, I was on my own.
Yeah.
And I was, you know, going to school here at Solano College. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I know I needed to do school, and I had to support myself. So not only did I have to go to school and carry a full load, I also had to, you know, make enough money to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And so I remember, you know, just there were moments where like I didn't even have a car, right? And I'm living with my aunt and trying to get out of that situation, and then also trying to progress to the next level to go to Sac State. And so, I mean, talk about busy. I think I felt so guilty. I always wondered if she would feel a certain sort of resentment towards me because, you know, you're working or you're going to school carrying, you know, 12 to 15 units a semester. And then, you know, when I got to Sac State, I was working 2 jobs. I had an internship at, you know, Sac probation office.
Yeah.
And then I also had a job. I was a food server. So I had no days off, like 0. On top of that, being the main person to get her to and from, you know, to see her dad, because I felt like that was important, make sure she had time with her dad.
Yeah.
And so just always busy. So the period that she's talking about, it wasn't one time. I felt like God was trying to tell me something.
Yeah.
And, you know, I got fired 3 times in a row, like within 6 months.
Yeah.
Never got fired before, and it was for these frivolous reasons. And so I did just decide to sit. I was like, look, I've never been on unemployment. I don't know how this worked, but this what it's going to be, you know? And I finally got to experience dropping her off at school and picking her up from school. I had never experienced that before. Yeah. It was always dropping her off at before or after school care or at a friend's house that was helping me out, picking her up from someone that was picking her, you know, watching her. So it was she was in middle school, and I had never experienced dropping her off directly to school and picking her up from school.
Yeah.
And that was while I was trying to figure things out and looking for another job. I was like, no, unemployment's I got 6 months. I'm gonna take 6 months.
Yeah.
And I learned I pay into that. So I'm like, wait a minute, let me sit in this.
Yeah.
And it was a good time, and we did a lot.
And that's a bit of a gift. I mean, that's a part of the legacy, right?
Yeah.
And so even though some folks can see it in the struggle, and when you're in the heart of the storm, but it's like when you take those moments to say, you know, I'm gonna be a mom right now, and like you said, I paid into this, so spending that time with your child, and she's never gonna forget that.
Yeah.
Well, and it was a really important time too. I mean, I was in middle school. That's the toughest. Middle school is, I feel like it was harder than high school. It was harder than elementary school. Middle school's tough. And then on top of that, my dad had recently relocated. So it was an important time to have my mom, and I feel like that was God talking, like, you know, so it was a blessing in disguise.
It was a blessing in disguise. And
Absolutely.
it was during summertime too. So it was good. And surprisingly, we didn't struggle financially.
Yeah.
You know, I had a little bit of
Isn't
savings.
it funny how that works? Like,
it does.
Yeah.
Because, you know, unemployment, I mean, now it's a little better, but I think it's like 60% or something of your pay.
Of your pay, yeah.
And so, or at that time it was. And I was just, we didn't struggle. We did stuff.
Yeah.
We hung out. We went places. We did things.
And it's amazing, like when you're not out and you're not having to eat out and commute and be all these places, like you can save money. So less sometimes becomes a lot more.
Yep.
Yeah. Kyrin, how about you? What comes to mind when you think about, when you look back and you think about times that you've seen me struggle, but also push through?
Right. I would say off the top of my head, it would easily have to be after you and Dad separated and we moved in with Auntie Debbie, and just seeing you just hustle day in and day out. I mean, Instacarting, driving us to and from school. And I know COVID did happen as well that year, but still just the Instacarting, you're still going to work, working at home. We're sleeping on the floor, you're sleeping on a couch. I just think the fact that we all kind of just seeing like all of us at the same time just go through that same struggle while you also holding the brunt of that.
Yeah.
And then still persevering. Like, never a moment did I think like, dang, Mom's gonna give up. Like, I don't know anybody else's mom I couldn't name off the top of my head that's doing this currently, and she doesn't look like she's gonna cower down and give up. Like, you had a goal. You said, I'm gonna get a house in 2 years, and you sat there and did it. So I tip my hat to that. That was a life lesson for me, and like I was saying, and that teaching me perseverance and just strength and handling adversity. I've never seen anything like that. So
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, I had gone through a divorce shortly before, or I separated from their dad shortly before COVID-19. And I think it happened. And so as so many things was changing in my life, like I went from being in a nuclear home to living in someone's living room. Yeah. And then COVID-19 hits. And now I'm not commuting kids to school, but I'm having to homeschool 3 kids. And never been a homeowner. Like, my mother inherited property, but she didn't actually go through the journey of the process of it.
And it's rough.
And it was tough. Rough. And I'm buying now during a pandemic.
Yeah.
And not only that, I'm grieving, right? Like, I'm grieving life as it was before, but I'm also like grieving like a marriage. And I'm terrified. I don't know if Kyrin knows this, but you know, before I left the marriage, I remember crying and praying to God, and I was saying, like, God, how am I gonna survive? Like, what was the last thing kind of holding me to the marriage was, well, we could financially provide together for our children. And I said, like, how am I gonna go out in the world and survive with 3 children when I'm struggling in the marriage? Like, you know, we have moments where we struggle. And God told me, if it's money that you're worried about, you'll never worry about money again. And I had to really take that leap of faith and really believe that what God was saying to me would come into pass. And so now we're living in someone's living room, and I was grinding. Like, the minute I clocked out from work and the kids' homework was done, I was Instacarting for hours.
She used to take me sometimes too.
I did. Aisle 9, go get the potato chips. Kyrie, go get the milk. Like, it's a family hustle. Because I knew that, like, when we left our home, we left with just our clothing. and not even all of our clothing. Like they didn't have toys, they didn't have anything. It was
because you're going to a living room.
We're going into a living room, and I wanted to be respectful of their space, but I also realized that in order for me to have what God has for me, I had to let some things go.
Right.
And when y'all moved in, we moved in. We didn't have, when I bought the house, we didn't have any beds, but the beds were on their way because I had already paid. Instacart and like helped pay for all my furniture. So, I mean, I had things coming, but that was probably one of the most difficult times of my life because I had to keep going when inside of me was so hollow. Like, I was like, I got, and luckily I had my kids to do it for.
They ground you and they just keep you focused. And it's just almost like, I know what you mean by feeling like hollow, you know, like, because there is a point where I felt that too. And it's just like, you do have to listen to what God is telling you, and you do have to take the leap of faith. And it's not hope. It's just like, you know, knowing that what he has for me, it's going to come to pass, but only if, right? Only if I do what I need to do.
Yes.
And it was just like I'll speak to that. The home buying journey is a struggle. And, you know, when I bought my house, everyone told me no. They were like, no, you can't do it. Because I didn't have enough down payment. All the reasons why I should not buy a house. Yeah. And, you know, the thing is we just push through. If you got to block out the outside noise, but then also our kids, when we look at them, and you're watching them sleep at night, and you just want them to be okay.
Yes.
And so I think like that's where that superpower. I feel like moms have a superpower where we just keep pushing through.
Yeah.
And almost to the detriment, because what I have learned as I'm older is that I have to look after Courtney too.
Yes.
You know, because if I'm not okay, my baby's not gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Yes, she's still my baby.
Yeah.
But
yes, she'll always be your baby.
Yeah. And so it's just like learning to lean into that as well, to making sure that we are okay.
Yeah.
Just in a room alone by ourselves.
Yes.
Like we're okay.
And knowing how to be okay.
Yes.
Because I think the first step for a lot of mothers is we don't know how.
Yeah.
And that's a journey within itself.
Yeah.
To just talk about that a little bit, you know, after my separation, and I was like focused on the grind.
Yeah.
Like I was grinding, I was celibate for 2 years. Like I wasn't interested in dating. I just like, it was all about them and making sure that like
stood on business.
I stood on business. And then the second part of the journey was learning how to be okay. Like how
that comes after the
yes,
fact,
it was
right?
like, so now I don't Instacart any longer. I haven't for a few years, but now I Instacart. Like now I order my groceries.
Oh gosh.
So now I'm paying for
circle.
These conveniences because it's like I'm a busy mom still at the end of this day. Like people laugh sometimes when they hear me and Kyrin on the phone and he has like these big ideas and I think that's great. And I'm like, I don't think it works like that, but okay. You know, like I roll with it with him, but they see me still like, you know, momming. And so I've now tried to figure out how can I make things in my life easier and convenient so that I'm taking care of me so that I can soak in a hot bath while somebody else is shopping, you know, or I get regular massages now. I take time to myself. I travel, but like learn like on this journey of self and exploration, like learning how to be okay, because becoming a mom at 20, my entire life has been committed to someone else.
Yep.
It has never been committed to myself. I've made decisions.
I got to go hang out with my friends until I was like 27.
Yeah.
It was
That was a good 30 when it was like well into my 30s when I started like feeling like
out,
and
started
feeling
hanging
okay
out.
to leave your kid.
So we were always put first.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. So asking these two, again, beautiful beings, what is something about your mom's journey that inspires you? What inspires you about your mom?
The whole thing.
Yeah.
Everything about it. It's a beautiful story. There's a lot of instances, I guess, that you put it all together. And, but your entire journey just from, having me and everything that you endured even before having me, that entire story, getting me through 4 years of high school, getting me through school just in general. I know I wasn't the easiest going.
Lord, let me just say,
every report and
Kyrin is wicked smart. It just comes very natural to him. But if you could imagine, I think you were in second grade and you got suspended from school for forging my name.
Oh, on a signature or on a referral or
On a
something
referral.
like that. Yeah.
Like,
Me and
he
that PE
forged
teacher
my
didn't get along.
name. Yeah.
And his wife also happened to be working at the school too, so
And didn't like
I
him.
didn't like her either. Yeah.
And
she
Kyrin,
would pick on me though. She would pick on me.
Yeah.
She gave me a referral just to send home because she knew my parents. Like I was always getting the class clown reputation. So
Yeah.
she likes. I don't even. It was something silly, and
Yeah.
she just gave me a referral, and I was like breaking down in tears. I was like, I can't. Like my parents are gonna get so upset, and then I just forged my mom's signature on it, and like a red pen though. So it was
and
like
spelled my
obvious.
name like Ebnoy. It was
Yeah, I didn't even spell it. I was
EBNOY.
in second grade.
You thought that was going to
I
pass.
thought it was
huh?
slick. I thought I was slick. Yeah.
And, you know, and when the school called me, I remember saying, like, he's in second grade. Like, he doesn't know what forging a signature. Like, this is ridiculous.
I didn't even know what a signature was. I tried to make it like in cursive.
When you
I
saw
didn't
it, you
know
were
what-
like,
yeah,
oh,
like-
he
and then-
did it.
yeah.
Wait, the date was like the cutest thing because you put like Monday or whatever, like
Yeah,
where it
or
says
something.
date and he's like
Yeah.
Monday.
Yeah, or something like
Oh my
yeah.
goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think the good thing is I went through so much with you. You actually gave me the blueprint on being a mom.
Yeah.
So that, you know, I did an episode a couple weeks ago that was talking about like I love my kids, but I hate being a mom.
Yeah.
I love
But-
that episode.
Thank
Y'all
you.
need to go watch it, okay? 'Cause that was a good episode.
Yeah, but I mean, Kyrin gave me the blueprint, and I think it made things a lot easier with my other two children.
Yeah.
And there's still some challenges because they're all their
All
own
different,
yeah, they're
right.
their own people. Yeah. So why don't you tell us?
I had a last
Yes.
little tidbit though.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
gonna say, just shout out to who you're still aspiring to be. Like if the job's not finished, I don't feel like you never feel like the job's done. You know,
It's not.
it's not. You still got a lot of life to live, and you're living it. So, huge kudos to you, Mom. Very proud of you. Your
Thank you,
success, yes.
Kyrin.
Always,
Thank
Mom.
you. And, you know, I'm happy to be your mom. I sometimes think that I'm the luckiest woman on the earth because of my boys, like, and who they are. Yeah. And who you're becoming. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I would say you never as a parent, you're never going to get another good night's rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
Because you're going to be, the job is never over.
Never-
So,
Yeah.
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 Well, you guys had us young, so we get more time with you. That's the plus side.
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah.
That's
I
very
love
true.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, my mom's resilience. I mean, she had a lot of tough things thrown at her throughout the journey of raising me and being a young mom.
Yeah.
And I could say that I feel like the world tried to harden you in a lot of ways, but you've stayed true to yourself and genuine, and you know, you still have a soft heart, and I really admire that. So yeah, I would say your resilience, 100%.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all going to make me cry here.
Yeah, it's all right. You
I
can
am
do
a
that. I did it.
crier.
I did
Yeah.
it. Yeah, go ahead.
I cried at the
tear.
onset of Mufasa, okay?
Yeah.
I was crying before they even came out. Like,
Yeah.
so, I'm a crier.
I think that's something else that's really special about motherhood is like there's this range of emotions, right, that we have in a given day. But I cry at baseball games, you know, when they were playing baseball, or when Kyson's singing in a performance, or Kyrie is jumping 6'6" at track. It's like these moments where I'm just like so proud of them. But I also have the other side of parenting when I cry because they didn't give me a Mother's Day card.
Oh, yeah. Not
That's
me.
boys. I
Not
think
me.
that's boys.
It wasn't me.
But like learning
Mother
and
too.
growing together. And I think motherhood is one of the most challenging, rewarding, beautiful, ugly, tough situations that we'll ever have in life. Like it encompasses so much.
Right.
And I'm super blessed. Like I am blessed to have this opportunity to be a mother. And I think I don't promote teenage pregnancy, right? Like I am all for thinking about your future.
Right.
And making decisions that are best for you. But if I had to say anything to anyone that's either going through it now or has, it's like, it doesn't define who you are. Like your character, your integrity, how you show up is what defines you. The age doesn't, you know, and I look at these remarkable human beings that we've created and that we've raised, and they are reflections of us, the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? So if someone came and said like, your daughter was snapping the neck, and it's like, yep, because her mama snapped the neck, you know, You know,
and that's so funny because it's
from my
true.
mama.
It's true. That is exactly true. You nailed it.
It was spot on with that one.
Where'd that come from?
yeah. Or like when he forged my signature, I can't remember how like angry I was at my second, but then
Clever.
my mom called me and she found a bunch of notes. Like this was after I had moved out. I was like living with his dad and we had him, and she went through a drawer in my bedroom and she's like, I didn't excuse you from school on this day. And I'm like, what?
Oh.
I get it from my mom.
I was like, what are you talking about? And she's like, oh, and she's reading the dates to me. She's like, there's all these notes in your drawer of dates that I excused you from school. And I'm like, at the time, I'm like, I'm 22. What are you talking about, lady? And she was so upset. So like you said, they are reflections of us.
Yeah.
They truly are. And I could not be more proud of the two adults, these two young adults that are sitting here.
Definitely a reflection, because when I get in my feelings about that business parent,
clearly
comment,
someone's still triggered by that.
I think about all the success though.
Yes.
Right? Again, I'm just gonna like sing her praises a little bit because I'm so proud, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, it doesn't define you. How you show up does. And, I showed up the best that I could, but my baby got a full academic scholarship because I was worried about how he was going to pay for college. Like, I ain't going to lie. Because, you paying for everything. You're like, how are we going to pay for this?
Yes.
She was able to attend a 4-year university here in California, Riverside. And she finished in her 4 years. And when she walked across that stage, like when she was out there, I was just like, it took me back to like when I had her, right?
Yes.
It's like all I saw was a baby. And I'm so proud of her because despite everything that we went through together, I saw her do things that I wasn't able to do.
Yes.
And that is what made that whole journey like worth it. You know, I was like, all of that time, I was meant to go through it. I was meant to do it because we got here.
Yes.
This is our path.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I'm just so proud of her in every single way.
Yeah. Yeah. Before we get out of here, Kyrin, I'm going to sing your praises a little bit. Kyrin, too, is now on a full ride to Bellevue University, where he'll be finishing his last 2 years.
Thank you.
And just a testament of his perseverance. There was a financial detour that we had to take, but we never gave up, and we sought out for help, and it came. And so I'm so proud of you. Thank you. Seriously, thank you for sitting down with us and sharing your story, Courtney, and for you to share about your mom, her trials, her tribulations, but most of all, how she's persevered. Kyrin, you already know, my twin in them.
Yeah, for life.
Mini me.
Locked in.
I just want to shout out all the mothers out there that are resilient, that push, that never give up. Continue to keep going. It's not easy, no matter what age you are, right? And so we're just sharing our stories. But we love you here at Queen's Vantage Podcast. Please like, follow, subscribe to the podcast. If you're interested, Courtney is a realtor. So let me just say, if you're looking to buy a home, this is who you want to go with. Yes. So we will make sure that you have her contact information here. And just keep going, y'all. We love y'all. It's another episode.